back to the Forge Ahead Show, episode 10. Remembered it again, nice. So Forge Ahead Show is where we bring you the storytellers. We bring people who have had adversity and turn that into something really, really exciting. And today is no exception. And we are sponsored by the amazing people at Dougie Stone Radio. My good friend Mark Brimson hosts several shows there, from indies to 90s to pop. Very cool, check him out. So it's dougiestoneradio.com, link is in the bio. Yes, and me, for those who don't know me, my name is Nick Elston, still me without the beard and the cap. Honestly, it's me. My name is Nick Elston. I'm an inspirational speaker on the lived experience of mental health. I'm also the founder of Forging People, who are bringing you today's show. So today I have someone very, very wonderful to bring you. She's one of the loveliest people in the world, and she's another Welshie. I'm bringing you a few Welshies on the show. And a big welcome to Aimee Bateman.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for that lovely welcome.
Very welcome. It's nice to see you here. Thank you.
Oh, no, delight. Absolute delight.
Like, because you're kind of a big deal, aren't you? Do you mean? It's kind of, you're like award-winning entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, I don't really tend to think so, but yeah, I get out and about a bit, yeah.
Of course you don't. That's exactly why you're so humble. You're also a professional speaker in your own right. You have had an amazing career in lots of different things, recruitment. So anyway, rather than me telling everybody about you, why don't you tell us about you?
Okay, so yeah, I'm a random Welsh woman that you've just brought on your podcast today, but no. So I started my career in recruitment back in 2003 as a commercial recruiter. A little bit of a story, backstory before I got there, which is very much to do with my why and my purpose, but I'm sure we'll cover that kind of stuff. Started my recruitment journey, and 2003, when everyone got jobs, it was such a boom market, and then 2010 kicked in, the recession. I'd had what was deemed quite a good career. I was enjoying myself, but there were a lot of really talented people that were out of work for no reason other than, there was a credit crunch. These people were extremely talented, but they didn't quite know how to communicate that in the marketplace, especially a very competitive marketplace. So I just went onto eBay and bought a secondhand camera, a Kodak ZI-8, I think, that you can't even buy anymore, for like $9.99. Started making YouTube videos in my kitchen, teaching people how to not need me, a commercial recruiter, because they were coming into our offices and we didn't have any jobs for them. And I was like, well, get on LinkedIn. And they were like, well, what's LinkedIn? Yeah, this is 2010. So yeah, the production quality was quite minimal. Bear in mind, it was 2010. Nobody was doing anything on YouTube in 2010 in career space. And my cat was in one. There's a bottle of vodka in the background of one, microwave lasagna. But the content was good. And, I don't know a lot, but I know a heck of a lot about a little bit. And the stuff I was talking about was stuff that I knew about. So this is how you stand out in a marketplace. And then very quickly, I think within the first year, I got to about 5 million hits on YouTube. And then I started I built this brand, if you like. Careercake was my YouTube channel, but Aimee Bateman, the brand, started growing without me even realizing it wasn't part of my plan. It just kind of happened. And then I started making a lot of content for BBC Learning, BBC Three, BBC One, LinkedIn, Total Jobs.
Wow.
and quit my job, and then became a speaker, and then in the last sort of 5 years, because that story started, I started Careercake in 2010, so that's 10 years ago. In the last 5 years, we just had this really big community of people saying, right, I've got my dream job, but I'm gay, how do I come out? Or I'm being bullied, what do I do? Or I'm a new manager, how on earth do I talk to people? And I didn't always have the answers. So I raised about £750,000 of investment, VC investment, and built a team of people that are a million times smarter than me. And we now have a platform which is very similar to a Netflix style. It's modeled on Spotify, Netflix playlists of content from lots of other experts that know stuff about stuff I don't know about. And then we provide that to our community.
It's amazing. And you touched on then your why, your purpose. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. I think that I didn't really understand why I was working during my 20s. I just knew I was getting up, going to work and coming home. And it was only when I really had a moment just before 2010, actually, where there was a couple of moments, but one in particular, a guy came into our office, and he was really smart finance director. I think he was like an 80k. Well, he was an 80k candidate, and he'd been out of work for about a year. And I was responsible for giving him a pep talk before he went in for his final interview with one of our clients, of which our commission as a business would be huge. Not me personally, but as a business would be huge. So I was in my head like, I'm going to get this like huge commission. I'm probably going to get promoted. Everyone's going to love me. It's going to be great. This will be great for my career. And then I just walked into the room. And I walked into, you know, I had Eye of the Tiger playing in my head, you know, like, is that a Rocky? I don't know, but I think I probably bought a new suit. In my head, I probably had a briefcase, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I was just like, it was all about getting this deal done. And then I walked into the room and I just saw this guy who was twice my age, so smart, just white as a sheet and broken and on the verge of crying. And in that moment, I went from being really like ballsy and confident to just feeling like, what on earth do I do? And honestly, I can still feel it now. It was like being punched in the face, just like, oh my God, this man is broken. And I just sat down with him, and in that moment, it was just two people and I was like, are you okay? And he just talked about the fact that he doesn't think he could cope with another rejection. And we'd got to know each other a little bit over the previous weeks. And he had 3 kids, he was married. And I just, in that moment, I was like, what kind of dad are you to your kids if you don't get this job? You know, a year of being rejected. Can you imagine what that must do to somebody?
Terrible.
And and like, he's not the best version of himself for anyone. And it just, I remember thinking, I would have loved a dad like you. When I grew up, I didn't grow up in foster care. I spent some time with my family, but the majority of my teenage years, I lived in 3 different foster homes, and had very, very low self-esteem. And then I went to uni, and I was quite good at uni, and then I got a job and I was good at my job, and then all of a sudden, you know, people liked me because I was judged quite a lot when I was growing up. You know, people weren't allowed to hang out with me. It wasn't great. You know, this is a long time ago, and there's a lot of stigma around being a foster kid, especially. I think I was the only one in you know, in our village and in school. And all of a sudden everybody loved me, and my self-esteem grew, and I realized that it was all down to the fact that I was going somewhere for 8 hours a day where I felt valued, and I was good at my job, and people were judging me for different reasons. You know, I was good at making them money. That's what really happened. But you know, but they were judging me for different reasons, and I just thought, my God, I've grown from this nervous girl who didn't like herself very much to this woman that actually likes what she sees, likes who I am, and feels really valued. And it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? You know, seen, heard, valued. Whether you're a serial killer or you're Mother Teresa, we all have that need in our system. And my job did that for me. And I wanted that for everyone else. And I just, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I need this guy to get a job. And that's kind of where Careercake was born from, really. Everyone deserves that. Like, everyone deserves for 8 hours a day to go somewhere where they feel seen, heard, and valued. And if they feel like that, they're better dads, they're better mums, they're better brothers, they're better sisters. You know, you don't put your phone on silent all night because you're miserable. You answer the phone to your friend who's going through a hard time. You're just a better version of yourself. And that's why I get out of bed in the morning and do what I do.
I love that. And I think that you mentioned like the foster system, that I've got a real understanding around that, because my mum was fostered when she was small, and into her teens and stuff. And I find it really fascinating that I kind of hold her up as a real role model, because she's achieved so much and actually found that much strength despite going through really challenging times. And again, it's really interesting, like following the theme about like the stuff that I speak about and the stuff that you talk about, is that that same kind of energy, that same adversity could have quite easily taken you down a different route.
Yeah,
but actually you've used that to forge something better. Like you said, be the best version of yourself. And your mum will say this to you. It does, and she'll know people around here and she watched it happen to people, and it's so easy to become a statistic. And you know, I do quite a lot with Voices in Care. They're a charity here in Wales, and work with young people, and like, I wouldn't change it. Like, honest to God, you could give me any money in the world and I swear to you I would never change
I always felt safe, and that kind of, I didn't always feel loved, but I always felt safe, and that in itself is greater than a lot of people. There's always somebody going through worse than you, isn't there? And you've got to just be really grateful. Everyone's got a story, everyone's got a journey, and whatever we go through, it makes us, like I say, it's my superpower. When I talk to young people in foster care, I'm like, you do realize that when you get to my age, when you're like nearly 40, when you're nearly 40 and you look around at all of the crap that life throws at you, and you see people you love, your friends, struggling with stuff, and you're going to go through it like a duck in water running off a duck's back. You're just going to be like batting, oh yeah, that, because your resilience is so high, because it's like the strongest irons go through the hottest fires. Is that a saying? God, can we have a pound for every
It's not, it should be. I love that.
A pound for every saying I'm coming up with today. But honestly, it's kind of like, it's like it's your superpower. Like this, it makes you almost bulletproof. Not bulletproof, but almost bulletproof. And that, my friend, I think is a gift.
Definitely. I mean, that's something I was just talking about them. My last engagement was that vulnerability to bulletproof thing. It's a really powerful transition, because it's the one thing that we're really afraid of is to share who we really are. But actually, when we do that, we can start to own that. And like you said, it doesn't make you bulletproof all the time, but it gives you the extra resilience you kind of really need to go forward. Can't control the uncontrollable, so actually it does give you that boost of resilience you need every day. Do you know what? We met on a very hot day in Cardiff, and you took me out for lunch. Great day.
And I gave you that history lesson. Do you remember?
You gave me a history of Cardiff, which is really cool.
You were like, oh my God, she's such a loser. What am I doing here?
You gave me lunch, you gave me a big hug, told me I was your best mate, and that was it. It was just set in stone from that day on, so it's cool. But what I loved very early on was you're very cause-driven. You've got a lot of passion in you about not only what you do professionally, but also I know that you support animal shelters, and your recent new addition, probably not recent now, but your new addition. Tell us about him, isn't it?
So Oscar is the first one. So we got so for those people listening, I'm obsessed with dogs. So dogs are my real passion. I give what money I do have to shelters, and I buy presents, and I'm always donating stuff, and I donate my time a couple of days a month as well to the shelter that we got Sophie from. But if I ever make any serious money in my career, it's all going to the dog shelters, like every single blooming penny of it. But yeah, so at rescuing animals, I mean, for me, that's my absolute passion. We got Oscar when he was a couple of months old. And he's not a rescue. He wakes up every morning thinking he's, wondering, how many people are going to fall in love with me today. He's like king, he's like the king. And then we got Sophie 7 months ago, and she, very sad story. Yeah, for anyone that knows anything about breeding farms, she was rescued from a breeding farm. She was in a shed for 5 years. It was very, very sad. So we worked with a behaviourist, actually, a dog behaviourist called Rachel Leather, who was amazing, and helped us bring Sophie back to the wonderful young lady that she's always meant to be, and she's very loving and confident now. Yeah.
Amazing. That's so good. And like I said, the life she's going to have you now is terrific.
Yeah. Well, Oscar's taught her how to be a happy dog. She thinks in her head she thinks Oscar rescued her, and I just provided the transport.
You were the Uber driver.
Yeah, I was just I'm the driver and the caterer. Oscar's the one that rescued her.
Dogs are great. I'm with you on that. Very empathic animals as well, aren't they? Yeah. When you're not feeling life, they'll be all around you. Kind of, yeah, absolutely. I get that. Yeah. So, going back to kind of the more kind of business entrepreneurial side of things, I know that you are a role model to a lot of people. I hear other people that I know speaking very well about you, but you also act as a mentor to people. Mm-hmm. What do you think the biggest challenge is, like coming out of lockdown and potentially starting business or kind of picking business back up? What do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for people in that situation right now?
I think one. I think two. One is it's going to be a confidence thing, a mind shift thing. So, you're going to hear a lot of people in the news and the press and even on the phone and on WhatsApp and your Facebook talking about how it's all doom and gloom and how we're all screwed. But we know that the the majority of innovation comes out of anything. Any innovation comes out of a dark time. So the majority of entrepreneurs are born out of recessions. I was born out of the last recession in 2010, but the majority of entrepreneurs are born out of recessions. And it just goes to show that, you know, there is value out there. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of problems to solve. So getting out of your own way and believing in yourself, I think is the only real difference. I think all the other things that you have to do as an entrepreneur are going to be the same as what they've always been. Make sure you solve a real problem for real people, rather than just the problem that you think they want solving. And all of the other, I mean, I could go into all of the things that you need to do in order to start a business, but then that, you know, but I think the best piece of advice at the moment would be, this is the best time because of this, not a bad time because of this.
Interesting. I think you're absolutely right. And for everything, it does create opportunities. I mean, all of my stuff 13 weeks ago was in person, and overnight the business was wiped out. Like, it was brutal. But actually, and along the lines of what you said, that once I acknowledged it was brutal and went into survival mode, right, how long can I last without any income? How long can I last health-wise, because medication and stuff, and lots of different things come into play. Once you establish survival, actually, this kind of, I know it's a massively overused word, this pivoting, this kind of transitional stuff has been really exciting. It's been a shot in the arm that I've needed.
I think so. And I think a lot of people are realizing what, you know, people in the industry already knew, which is that portfolio careers are the way forward. You know, there's statistics that suggest that, you know, 3 out of 4 of us will have portfolio careers by 2025. And that means a side hustle. That means just something, because, you know, gone are the days where people would have a job and a career and, you know, that would last them for life. You know, those days have been gone for 20 odd years. But even, you know, those 3, 4, 5 year jobs are really going. And I think that you don't own your career. You don't own your job. And I think it's that Earl Nightingale saying, you don't own your job, a company owns your job. And I think in times of recession, people really understand that. Like, your job doesn't belong to you. It's not, you know, I've got a job. No, you don't. It's not your job. Your job belongs to a company, organization, the government, whoever it is that pays your bill. They own that job. You just have access to it for as long as you want it, or as long as they allow you to have it. What you own is your career. Now that could be 20, 30, 40 years. That's what you own. And never forget that you almost have to be the business owner of your career. So even when you're comfy, even when you think everything's okay, add value, do what you can, but never take your eye off the ball. And the long-term goal, which is overall the only thing you want in your career. And you have to be the driving force of that, rather than sit back and get comfy and allow people to take responsibility for your life, your career. Because we all know, we've met people that just get a letter going, you know, an email saying you've been made redundant, and it's like, God, I didn't see that coming. Well, you should have, because we always can be in that situation. I suppose I hate the idea of ever being in that situation. I know where that comes from, but obviously I've just told you what, you know, where my upbringing comes from. But I always like to think, and I always want people to have options. So if that does happen, you've got options, you've got relationships, you've got people to call on, you've got a backup plan. Because my gosh, that's a scary place to be. I know, I work with people like that every day.
Yeah. So that's the second time that Earl Nightingale's been mentioned to me in 24 hours. Who's Earl Nightingale?
Oh, he's just this guy from Barry that I grew up with. No, I'm joking. He's just this he wasn't Welsh. You don't need to know. He wasn't Welsh. It doesn't matter.
Who is he?
Oh, right. So basically...
It was a genuine question.
Yeah. So type in Earl Nightingale. I don't believe he's alive anymore. So let me have a little look.
I love the Barry reference though.
Oh my God. So I was very lucky to get an honorary fellowship from Cardiff Metropolitan University. And yes, he did pass away. Yes, he did. So he's like an American author. And he did a lot of stuff around sort of human character development and entrepreneurship and that kind of stuff. But I quoted him in when I got my honorary fellowship. I remember thinking, I've got to have a speech prepared, and you know, in those moments where you just like, all I can do right now is not cry, because my mum was in the audience. Don't fall over, don't cry. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was an Earl Nightingale quote. And I'm like, that man rescued me. So I'm a fan.
I'm definitely checking that out. Fantastic. So mentioning lockdown, how has it been for you personally?
All right, actually. Yeah, I've actually quite enjoyed it. I think at first I was like, I'm going to do a million things. So I'm going to, it's that whole, I'm going to learn 10 languages and learn, all of those things.
Play the flute.
Yeah. And I've done some of those things, but I haven't been as productive as I thought I was going to be. But one of those reasons is that work just got really, really busy. We offer online videos, so online training, online development. So everything that we do was online anyway, and there was just a greater need for what we do. So we've all been putting in the hours and adding value where we can to people that really need it. But I've got my dogs, I've make sure that I jumped on video. I've been having lots of video chats with you and other people that I call lighters, people that, and it's important that I think we surround ourselves with lighters, people that make us feel good about ourselves, people that make us feel like we matter, and minimizing the time that we spend with, the feeders, the people that drain us.
Absolutely.
So I'm quite well versed in that kind of stuff anyway. What about you? How have you found lockdown?
I think same as you, really. I mean, it's weird given like what I do is, especially as a speaker, I'm an introvert by nature, so I recharge in my own company. So I've actually found this really quite liberating. It's also given me that kick up the ass I needed to get some online stuff done. It's allowed me to reshape where I want to be. In fact, by the end of this, the whole business is going to be looking different to how it came into lockdown, and in a very positive way. So it's given me that time to take a step back and just kind of refocus as well. I've got an added complication of I've got like a heart condition, which means that I'm in no rush to get out either. So I've kind of considered like Nick Elston, Forging People version 2.0 as the new norm. And then actually, once all this is done, the in-person will be at a premium. That's kind of how I'm trying to angle it. And I think the reason being is that, I mean, it's just a personal opinion and it's purely kind of conjecture, but I think the next time that I'm going to be in a conference hall or a boardroom without any social distancing, I think we're looking potentially towards the end of next year. So if that's the case, then we need to kind of forge a new reality, or by default, we may not come through this professionally. I mean, it was I think it was March last year. I got rushed into hospital, and the doctor said, "Mr. Elston, you've got a big heart." So thanks very much. So that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So the medication I was on, it kind of, again, you just live and learn, don't you? The medication I was put on, that changed the behaviour as well. I stopped drinking alcohol and lots of different things. So I find with every adversity, every kind of storm that comes along, you learn so much through it. And sometimes it's harsh and sometimes it's brutal, but actually, if you apply the right kind of things that you share and the stuff that I share, that actually you can come through this happier, smarter and stronger. It's just a case of maintaining that kind of knowledge that every storm runs out of rain, and it will. This will pass. It's just going to last a lot longer than most things that were expected. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Everybody's lockdown journey's been really different. So, for example, my husband was one of the only people, apart from the senior leadership team, who works for an international charity, that wasn't furloughed. He's the accountant. They kind of need accountants right now. But it just meant that he was really busy. So he was working really, really long hours. So he was upstairs, I was downstairs, and it was a completely different experience. His reality of lockdown has been very different to my reality of lockdown. But at the same time, we felt like we will absolutely come out of this. It can't happen, we can't come out of this with nothing positive. So we've both made some behavior changes, like we didn't drink as much, we got more routine in our day, which we probably wouldn't have had before. So we both think there's been some positives to it, but it's just everybody's reality is different, isn't it? And
it is. I think, that's the thing. It made me realise this when I delivered a keynote to the NHS Frontline Conference, and it's that thing that we're all in this together. We're really not.
No.
We're in the same storm, but in different boats.
Yeah.
But we've all got different perspectives and challenges. There is community in the sense that up until recently anyway, there's been a groundswell of compassion. I've seen that. Unfortunately, due to obviously big world issues going on, that's turned quite toxic recently. I think that enhanced my kind of move to leave social media. And actually, one of the few things I miss about leaving Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are pictures of your dogs, actually. So maybe you just send me random pictures every week.
I will. Yeah.
Have you made any kind of bigger changes in lockdown?
So professionally, we gave up our office, and we have made the decision not to ever have an office again. The team and I, we all worked flexibly anyway, but it was just making sure that everybody was aware that flexibility went to another level if they needed to, as and when. We've kind of fallen in love with our work again, if that makes sense. It's very easy for when life is going really, really fast, and you're doing all of these things, you're growing, and then lockdown just happened and we kind of just pressed pause, and it was like, God, right, let's get back to why we started this thing. Let's get back to what problems we're solving, and let's talk to our end users more than we ever did before. So from that sense, it's been nice. And personally, like I said, I gave up drinking, bought myself an exercise bike. We got more routine in our day, making sure that my mum and other people, my mum's a lot older and she suffers from COPD, making sure that she's okay. So yeah, that kind of stuff. But there've been days that have been really rubbish, and days where I've done nothing, and days where I have felt rubbish, and it's just allowing yourself, being kind to yourself during those days, I think.
I think so too, and actually there's no shame in taking that step back for a day and recharging and recovering and resting and doing what you need to do. And I think that's the risk of, like you said, that pressure of you should learn to play the flute before you come out of lockdown. I don't know why I use the flute as an example all the time, but it kind of, you don't want to shame people and thinking they don't have to do that at all. They don't have to make any changes. But I think that, I'm not sure what you found, but the more that I focused on self-care, it started to raise my sensitivity in other areas. So actually, if you look at things like Facebook, for example, it really made me aware it wasn't good for me. That immersion in what was going on. I think there's also an element, if I'm honest, of kind of my obsessive trait that I have due to my kind of former kind of mental illness conditions and stuff. Definitely an element of that. But also just making sure like who and what you surround yourself with and what you engage with. The sensitivity has definitely been raised. But the good thing is because I'm putting things in place to kind of normalize self-care for me. There's always been a bit of a burst of that, and then I don't do anything, and then a burst.
Yeah.
So I've been using an app called Balance, which is a meditation app, which is morphed with artificial intelligence. So based on the questions that you answer on day one, like I've done mine today, it will then create a whole new routine for you tomorrow, which is different from anybody else. I love that, but it's very specific to what my challenges are in the moment.
Yeah.
So I've been using that, and also gone back to school through an online brain training app. Remember, they all kind of like maths and English literature and all that kind of stuff. So both of those apps are amazing. Have you been using anything to kind of like either gamify stuff or education and whatever that may be?
Yeah. Well, not education, but I do. So every morning, and I got out of the habit of it, but every morning I watch a TED Talk. So I used to do, and I got into that habit some years ago. And I'd got out of that habit. So I've reintroduced that habit. So every morning, and you can subscribe to TED and just say which topics you're interested in, and they send you one. And it's like, for me, that's like going to the gym for my brain, because obviously what we put into our bodies isn't just what we eat and what we drink,
That's a great tip.
Yeah, so I do. So I watch a TED Talk every morning, and some of them, some of them are TED Talks, some of them TED Talks, some of them are a bit hit and miss, and that's okay. And some of them are like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever, and you're forwarding it to all of your friends. But either way, it's something that I really enjoy.
It was a TED Talk that tipped the balance for me on the social media stuff. It was a TED Talk by a guy called Cal Newport, who did one on why you should quit social media. Basically, it was about why he quit social media. He didn't really touch on the mental health aspects of it, but he went into 3 different areas about what gave him the decision. And he's done a lot of, I've just ordered his book actually. He's done a lot of work on what he calls deep work, so undistracted work. So
I know about deep work. Yeah.
So I find that that fascinating, but it does free up that space. Sorry, I interrupted you, I think.
Well, interesting, because I was going to talk about deep work. So that's something that I do, and
unagi.
Yeah, that is something during lockdown. That's something that I started doing a few years ago. I also use an app on my phone. I don't think it's an app. It's part of my iPhone that allows me to set on Instagram. So once I get to 20 minutes on a day, it tells me that I've reached my limit, and then I don't go on anymore. I deleted.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's something I've done through lockdown. But something I did it'll be 3 years this August. I deleted Facebook from my phone. So I deleted Facebook and the Messenger app. So if I go onto Facebook, it's a desktop. So you're not tempted to go on it when you're just out and about or just watching telly. So I don't have LinkedIn on my phone. I don't have the LinkedIn app on my phone for that exact reason. So the only social media app I have on my phone is my Instagram with my date, with my timings, and Twitter. So that's helped me. Yeah.
That's cool. It's a great idea, definitely. I think that's a really good move. It's a great kind of halfway move as well. I appreciate people may need to have that social interaction. It was interesting from a business point of view, when we're talking about kind of self-employment and things, that I actually took an educated risk. I could lose a certain percentage of my business by doing this, but for me, it's what you value most, isn't it? Do you value your sanity and your mental health more than you do? And I think that and I know you'll understand this, that I think when you've been through challenges before, you become very self-aware, but also you develop this courage and conviction and confidence to actually make those calls very quickly. And for me, that's why I did it. But yeah, so thank you so much for sharing all of that amazing stuff
that's all right.
with me. So where can people reach you?
So you can Google me. So it's AIMEE. So it's my mum tried to spell it. My mum was just trying to be posh, I think. So she spelt it the fancy way. So Aimee Bateman, and I'm on
love
Twitter.
That. Google me. You're that famous. You're that much of a big. Google me. I love that.
Who in this world that you meet at a networking event you can't Google? They're like, oh, I haven't got any business cards. It's like, it's 2020. It doesn't matter. Like, what's your name? LinkedIn will come up in my first Google search. It's fine. So you could Google me, as I could Google anyone. You could Google me. I'm on, and then obviously my LinkedIn and my Twitter and all of those platforms will come up. And Careercake is the business that I founded. So there's some of my content on there, but lots of other people's wonderful content on there as well.
So again, give us an overview of Careercake for those who are new to the platform.
So it's a platform, so it's basically Netflix, but for career development. So anything from getting a job to now I'm in a job, how do I be the best I can be? And deal with all of the all of the challenges that you're faced with in your role. And we have full-on courses, we have fireside chats, we have lots of different types of content that's all produced based on requests. So we have so we can have anything from sort of 50,000 people watching our content each month, and then they will request other things like, oh, I'm having an issue with this, or I'm having an issue with this, and then we go out, find an expert on that topic, an expert that likes people, not just somebody that's looking to push a book, or they've got 100,000 Twitter followers. They actually genuinely are nice people and genuinely care about our viewers. And then we share those words of support and inspiration on the platform. And people can subscribe. You can subscribe and just have 2 weeks and just watch it for free, or you can have it long term. It's totally up to you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So I am the MC of the O2 Arena. There's 20,000 people paid their hard-earned money to come and hear you speak. What's your walk-on music as I announce you?
So it would be the Rolling Stones' "Sympathy of the Devil." I think that's "Sympathy of the Devil." That is 100% my game song, and it has been for a long time.
Game song, I love that.
That's my game song.
Game song. Yeah, right. I've never heard that term. That's good.
Yeah, well, sometimes Mick Jagger just has that arrogance, doesn't he? That sometimes we all need to just feed off it. Sometimes when it feels like the world is against us. It's that's my song.
Good stuff. So we're going to come back to you in a second for parting wisdom, but thank you for being such a wonderful guest. Like, you're literally one of my favourite human beings. So
ditto, mate, ditto.
So pleased to have you on here, and thank you for sharing what you did with us. So do look up Aimee Bateman on Google her, and I will also pop the links in the bio to Careercake as well, so that you can contact Careercake directly to. So we've got coming up, we've got a business networking guru, we've got a professional footballer, we've got a social media star in the mental health world. We have lots of amazing people to follow the awesome Aimee Bateman. So stay tuned for the Forge Ahead show ongoing. Before we go, Aimee, parting wisdom for the audience, please.
I would probably say that we live the life that we make, not the life we're given. Like, we all have the opportunity to create something that we love. You know, whatever we get dealt, that doesn't need to be what we live with. And life is just too short to do stuff you hate. That's probably my part.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I'm not going to add anything else to that. That's a perfect way to wrap up. Take care, guys, and see you all soon. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Bye.